Kim, and today I will teach you the ways how you can get a 5 on the macroeconomics AP exam. Well, the first thing you would have to know is to read the prompt carefully, and you want to single out all the important terms to put inside your answer. Well, let's read the prompt together. It says, the interest rates are important in explaining economic activity. Now this is an 8-point question. There's 3 parts to it, and we'll go over the first part for now. Well, A, using a correctly labeled graph of the money market, show how an increase in the income level will affect the nominal interest rate in the short run. Now as you can see, I have circled the money market, okay? Because that's going to lead you what kind of graph it's going to be. You see how it's right after the word correctly labeled graph. Now, I underlined the increase in income level. Okay? Now, in the money market graph, the money supply, money demanded, an increase in the income level will adjust the nominal interest rate and it'll show you how this will affect the quantity of money. Now, what is an interest rate? Interest rate is the percentage that a lender pays the borrower for borrowing the money. And on the other hand, a lender, fuck. Oh shit. Let's do it again.
I'm sorry, looking at him.
Oh shit. Using a correctly labeled graph of the money market, show how an increase in the income level will affect the nominal interest rate in the short run. Now, we need to figure out what kind of graph we're going to write. So, as we can see here, it says using a correctly labeled graph of the money market. That's what indicates what kind of graph you're going to need. Now, to see other indicators, we can see that we have the income level over here, we have the nominal interest rate, and it's going to be in the short run. So we're not going to have any long run curves, okay? Now, first we need to know what interest rates are. Interest rates is the percentage that a borrower pays a lender for the value of the money that initially borrowed, and they have to pay a percentage in return. All 3 points from this question, we will need to work on this graph. Now, what kind of graph are we gonna write? We're gonna use the money market graph that was labeled before. So we have a vertical line going straight across parallel to the y-axis. It's called the money supply curve. We write M1. We need to label the numbers because if there's a change in the graph, a shift or movement, we need to label that movement to, let's for example, money supply 2 or money demand 2. Now, on the y-axis, we have the nominal interest rate. And on the x-axis, we have the quantity of money. Now, the second step is we need to write the money demanded curve. And in the intersection of these 2 curves, we call it the equilibrium. It's where the two lines meet. Now, an increase in the income level will show an effect in the nominal interest rate by increasing it. So we have to label on the right side, on the left side, on the y-axis, an italic I. This is nominal. This is the italic because it's nominal interest rate. If it wasn't nominal, it wouldn't be the italic. So it's really important that you remember that. And we label the number to write another graph, another line of money demand, show the increase. Remember, label 1 and 2. The 2 is the change. So now we have a new equilibrium. Label it I2 on the independent variable. And a straight line across. So this is how you would make 1 point out of the 3. Correctly labeled the y-axis, the x-axis, the components of the lines, and naming them, and the changes. So the next thing we need to do, we get another point for labeling the movement. See how it went from 1 for 2? All you have to do is show there's an increase. And the last point you receive from labeling the rightward movement of the currency. Okay, here we have the second portion of the problem. This problem is worth 3 points too. Now, we're going to read it together. Using a correctly labeled graph of the loanable funds market, show how a decision by a household to increase saving for retirement will affect the real market interest rate in the short run. Here we have the on the y-axis we have the real interest rates, which is the independent variable. The interest rate will always be on the y-axis because it's the most common independent variable that we can move. We can adjust and we can see the changes we can do to the market. On the x-axis we have the quantity of money. Once again. Now, an increase in saving will actually decrease the real interest rate. Now, in the R1 we have the initial equilibrium where the two lines, the supply curve and the demand curve meets. Now in the R2, we draw a dotted line straight across to the new equilibrium point. So due to this new equilibrium point, we have the supply curve have a rightward shift. So we have to label this too. Now, in order to receive 3 points for this question, we will need to label the graph correctly. Then we must show the movements of the graph. We have the downward movement and the rightward shift of the curve. Now, you guys might be asking, what is the difference between the real interest rates and the nominal interest rate? The real interest rate accounts for the inflation of that year. So it's already the inflation is already calculated in the percentage, okay? Now in the nominal interest rate, the inflation is not accounted for. So we could just say that the real interest rate is the more viable one, and the nominal interest rate is just the ball figure of how much the percentage you'll be paying. And now we have the last portion of our problem, part C. It's worth 2 points, and it's the easier part of the question. So I would advise you to get full 2 points from this question. Let's read it together. It says, suppose the nominal interest rate has been 6% with no expected inflation. If inflation is now expected to be 2%, determine the value of each of the following. 1. The new nominal interest rate. 2. The new real interest rate. In order to solve this problem, we need to know the relationship between nominal interest rates and the new real interest rates. In order to solve this problem, we need to understand the relationships between nominal interest rate and real interest rate. By definition, nominal interest rate is the value that inflation has not been accounted for yet. So if we look at this problem, the new nominal interest rate should be 8%, being
6%, which was the old nominal interest rate, plus 2%, which is the expected inflation. So our new nominal interest rate would be 8%. And as we can see over here, it says that the real interest rate equals the nominal interest rate minus inflation. So our new nominal interest rate is 8%, minus the inflation, which is 2%, will give us 6%. So our new real interest rate will be 6%. Now, in order to further understand this concept, I will provide you with an example that is really simple.